How amazing is all of this, everybody? Wow. How are you, Abraham?
We are extremely well.
It is clear. I want to talk about relationships and the power of the mastermind. Abraham, you say that 17 seconds of focused thought is the equivalent leverage of 2,000 action hours. And every 17 seconds on top of that it increases exponentially, 34 seconds being 20,000 action hours, 51 seconds, 200,000, etc. My question is, what is the leverage when we deliberately create through a mastermind group? Define mastermind from your perspective, how it works, how you would conduct a mastermind meeting if you were in our physical shoes.
Everything that we've been talking about in these hours that we've been together is momentum, which is encouraged by focus. And so the power of a mastermind is that when two or more, but it's best if it starts out with just two in the beginning until you are certain that you are in alignment. So two who have managed to be in reasonable alignment, coming together and speaking in general conversation for the purpose of feeling consciously the power of the increased thought. Now, the reason that the mastermind works as it does, we'll fill in all the details of this. So by the time we finish this conversation, you'll know what mastermind is, you'll know how to apply mastermind, and you'll be eager to get out and find a mastermind partner to play with. So it's all about focus and it's all about momentum. But the true power of the mastermind is that as you create this nucleus for each other, where you are two who are determined to stay in a vibrational frequency. So it's a feeling place, not a thinking place. Yes. What you provide for each other while one of you is offering your words. And in the mastermind conversation, it is conversation. It's verbal. This is a mastermind conversation, a supreme mastermind conversation, because we are speaking, or you are speaking, and others are listening in. So there is a lot of opportunity for other thoughts to begin to chime in to the basis that we've established. It happens every time we're together like this. So the two of you are together, and as one of you is speaking in positive terms and general terms, your goal is to not ruffle any feathers. In other words, you're not trying to get somewhere fast. You're not trying to solve some problem. That's not the reason for a mastermind. The reason for mastermind is to tap in to the mastermind. And so in Abraham speak, that would mean the reason for the mastermind is to focus yourself into the highest flying vibrational state.
Does it have to be, do both people or all the people have to be on the same frequency in order for it to be effective? It sounds like what you're saying is it's general at first, but then it can be focused into more.
Well, the advantage of it being the thrill of the mastermind is that when the specific starts to flow, you all receive it simultaneously.
Damn.
That's the thrill of it.
Yes.
Jerry and Esther had such fun. They used to argue whose idea that really was.
Right.
Because they would contemplate together. They would stay in that positive place together until the idea would occur to them simultaneously. And when the idea occurs, it feels like it is your own. You've tapped into that broader perspective. And the nice thing is, it is unlikely that you would have found it if it were not for those who have joined you. Now think about this. Think about why that is. So you accept that you as an individual have been exploring and putting things into your vortex. And now you join with another, maybe two or three others, but let's say with another who has a unique vortex gathered also. So now the two of you are staying in your general enough place that you are focused simultaneously into an energy that allows you access to more than your own vortex.
And we create that together because
you create it together.
Yes.
So you're peering. So the thing that's wonderful about this mastermind is that sometimes you have your own roadblocks established relative to your vortex. You don't have any roadblocks established to the other, and vice versa. so that when you get into that high-flying place, things likely will occur to you that have never occurred to you before. You see what we're getting at?
Yeah, I think so. It sounds like the inspiration that occurs in the mastermind it's so much more than me or a single person by themselves interacting with their.
So now let's take this a little further. Let's make this a world summit. And let's have a representative from this place and this place and this place and this place. Now, is it logical to you that the contents of their individual vortices would be different from each other? Because their lives, what they've been living, would cause them to ask for different things. They are innately all seeking the same. They want joy. They want value. They want to be of value. They want the world to be a better place. They want the children of the world to eat. They want well-being. In other words, at the core of what all of them want is the same thing, you see. But they've lived very diverse lives, and so this mastermind group that is now gathered has a much broader, much more detailed, much variety in what could be delivered. Now think about individual parties and the factioning that they do, the erroneous and misguided and flawed belief that in order for me to have what I want, I must prevent you from having what you want, as if there is some resource shortage, which there is not. But imagine a group of people with very different intentions and very different backgrounds coming together and finding vibrational alignment and tapping in to that broader perspective where they're able to now draw from the consciousness of another. You see what we're getting at? Talk about looking at the world through the eyes of Source. Most people, you don't mean to be, but you are prejudiced in the sense that you have decided that only what you desire for, from your point of view, is good or right, which makes what, in many cases, others are desiring wrong. And you can never find freedom as long as you are holding yourself in that bondage against all of that wrongness. But when you allow yourself to come together with another who doesn't believe exactly as you do, but you discover the freedom of the power of that mind, it's like tapping into the richness of all that is there, going down a path that you've always condemned as the wrong path, you see.
Beautiful.
That was a big conversation.
Yeah. So I want to talk a little bit about when you say we would be specific about who we would choose to be in a mastermind with. It sounds like if I were to choose people to be in a mastermind with myself, I would choose the people that are already on the high-flying disc. And
we would choose people who are predominantly happy.
Yes, exactly.
Not necessarily predominantly thoughtful.
Right.
In terms of thinking a lot.
Yes.
Predominantly happy, predominantly easy, because the momentum, you see, you can be with someone, or you yourself could be someone who has not been that thoughtful about things. And in that pure vibration, as the momentum gathers, the thoughts occur. Esther was a very good example of this. Jerry couldn't get her to talk about much of anything in the beginning. She had not made her mind up about a lot of things. She was not pushing against things. She was not established in a strong opinion about things. She was just bipping along, living happily ever after, which made her a perfect candidate for the receiving of the Abraham material, because she didn't have any doors blocked off, you see.
Right.
So you're looking for happy, easy, but someone who is wanting the thrill of expansion.
Beautiful. Can you very quickly list, I think you already touched on it, I want to, it sounds like the benefits of that are not only connecting and experiencing joy together, but also creating not only endless possibilities in general terms, but also specific terms, in other words.
Oh, the power of what you can create once you get into that and are able to get into it easily. A mastermind will train you into focus. In other words, you do not need to stay in a mastermind environment in order to be powerful.
So it doesn't need
what
to
it
be-
what it will do though, it will show you because words don't teach. It will show you. You'll have the visceral experience. You will experience profound clarity that will take you into thought places that you have not been before.
Because of the connection between the two vortexes.
Because of the momentum.
Right.
And
Of the
because
vortexes.
and because of the combining of the vortexes.
Yes.
Now,
So
we're going to give you something that we think you're ready for. So we've been talking about your vortex that contains those things that you have become. Imagine what the mass consciousness vortex must be like. And imagine the source has been swirling there, knowing it, living it, being it.
that was my question the other day.
And when you tap into that, the clarity that will come. But you see, finding clarity before you're up to speed with it isn't that exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being in a place of clarity, you just get happy. But there's a difference between happy and clarity. Because in the clarity, there is knowing, there is understanding. And that's where your utter sense of worth, your utter sense of right place, right time, your utter sense of power, that's where that comes from, you see. And those that you revere, that's what they were doing. Some of them you revere weren't doing it. But usually, those that you revere found that, you see. So, want to be clear, we don't want to make you dependent on any other, because you actually have a vortex partner, you have a vibrational counterpart in your own inner being. In other words, you don't need to get together with others in order to do it, but it is so much fun to share your clarity with those you care about, you see.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Also, it's nice that you're sort of passing the baton from one to another. One can carry a little ways as you just rest in the energy and hear and feel yourself coming up to speed with thoughts that you have not thought before. And then when you feel the clarity come to you and you begin to express yourself in a way that you've never expressed yourself before about that, it's so exhilarating to know that you're right there. And then the other parlays from that, and then you, and then the other, and then you, and then the other, and then you, and the other, and then you, and then the other, until finally you're in this place that you have not been before. And there is some sort of wonderful satisfaction in recognizing, you know that thing you say all the time when you say you had to be there? It's nice that somebody was there. It's nice. You had to be there. And when you're there, this would be the basis of our relationships if we were standing in your physical shoes. We'd be looking for mastermind partners. We'd be looking for vibrational partners. We'd be looking for partners who enjoy the high-flying energy and like the sensation of ramping it up.
Awesome. So would you conduct a mastermind meeting? Like how would that look from your perspective? Would you because in I believe Napoleon Hill talks about setting one every week and conducting them for half an hour,
Maybe,
an hour.
but here's the thing. When you start efforting, it starts sort of backfiring a little bit. So we'd choose something that's easy, we'd play with it if it's fun, and we'd watch what law of attraction brings about it.
Okay, fabulous.
Because once you reach some of these high-flying places, you're going to discover that there's almost no one you know in your circle who's there. Because if they were, you'd already have found them. So something's going to happen in some amazing way. You're going to reach out further than you right now have the ability to see. Does that bother you? Esther was sitting in Del Mar the other day, and when she woke up, she'd been there for weeks, and she woke up and the ocean was gone. It was only unsettling for a moment. She knew it wasn't gone, she just couldn't see it. And she sat on her deck and thought about all that she knows is out there, and just because she can't see it doesn't mean that it isn't there. And all of you are in a fog in relationship to what's out there for you. And this mastermind thing begins to clear the fog. It gives you further sight, further insight, further sight. It gives you a stronger sense of possibilities. You begin having bigger thoughts. You begin having more expanded thoughts. Bigger thoughts. Esther's been playing with the idea of the button and the castle. And then she wanted to call everything a button because everything began to feel easy. And then a friend said, let's call it all castles because it's easy and it's big. And so your perspective just keeps changing and changing and changing as you expand into fuller and fuller, further and further, and fuller and further, and fuller and further, and fuller and further awareness of what's out there. What's out there that you've put out there, what's out there that others have put out there. So is it logical? You put ingredients out there, they're in your vortex. Others put ingredients out there, they're in their vortex. Isn't it a pretty wonderful thing when you tap into Source, who has melded all of those vortices into something magnificent, and you get glimpses of it? You have knowing of it. You have true feelings of which way to go in it. No competition because the resources are unlimited. No sense of lack or loss because that can't be. Just following the impulse from this fast-moving energy because it's fun, because clarity draws you, because it's exhilarating. Higher and higher and higher and higher. Yeah. There is a possibility of taking a step backward in this conversation because we've spent several years teaching you your autonomy. And Mastermind makes it sound like there is advantage in gathering together in others.
Right. But what you're really talking about is achieving the integrity of alignment and watching what comes up.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, one last thing. I'm really curious if you have any numbers to offer, because I find the numbers that you offer, with 17 seconds equaling 2,000 action hours. I find that truly fascinating. Can you offer any?
Well, have you had the experience where you say, what would it, you see something rendezvous in some incredible synchronicity, and you marvel in it. Maybe you even have the fun of getting to marvel with a friend who's been in on it with you, who was there, who experienced it too. And have you ever said to yourself, what would it have taken for us to have orchestrated that?
Yes.
What would it have required if we had to organize the details in order to make this happen? And so it really is an unlimited, indefinable power and leverage. And as we put numbers to it, we do it a disservice.
I understand that, because it doesn't really sound like you can. Is that correct? Put numbers to that kind of leverage.
The numbers move around a lot. In other words, this leverage of thought is difficult to describe, but something that can be experienced. Once you get, that's that feeling of clarity that we've been trying to define. You get to that place of clarity where you know the difference between clarity and confusion, just at the simplest of levels. When you have clarity, you move through your time and space efficiently. You don't forget things. You don't leave them behind. You don't trip over your own feet. You don't slam your own fingers in drawers and things. You don't get yourself into the slow-moving crowd. You find yourself always moving with the stream that's moving the fastest. And so when you begin dovetailing with these thought streams, the thing that we most want to express about this is that these faster currents are already established and moving.
Right.
And all of this conversation is just about you figuring out how to get up to speed with that current.
Cool.
And then experiencing the benefit of that. And if you keep remembering that, then you won't overwork it, you won't over-effort it, and you won't shoot yourself in the foot in the process. Abraham, how can you be talking about infinite power and unspeakable leverage and talking about ease at the same time? And we say, because you're not the engine, you're just the one that hooks up with the engine. The engine is the power. You are the allower of yourself to be swept by the current of the engine that is already in place, you see. And in many cases, It's the current that you've set into motion. It's the current of your own desires. It's the current of your own dreams. It's the current of your own passion. It's the current of your own past lives. It's the current of that which you're reaching forward to. It's a powerful current.
Will science be ever able to touch on proving that the leverage of thought? In other words, 17 seconds equaling 2,000 action hours. Well, quantum physics is pointing to things like this.
We are
Where
certain.
Where can that go?
We are certain that there are those who could do that now. We're certain that there are those who could do that now. But it's meaningless because only those who are applying it have any sense of it.
Yes.
We want you, it's like people have been coming to this gathering for many years with different contraptions or stories of different contraptions that they want to use to measure energy, to measure resistance, to measure alignment. And we say, you've got this wonderful guidance system within you. And as you begin to use that, as you begin to feel your way there, you can just feel when you're on the right track. You can feel the power of that energy. This conversation, 30 days from now, after more of you have had the opportunity to experience the clarity that we've been promising, will be a different conversation. Because you will have had under your belt so many more of those experiences where you just can't make this stuff up. You just can't explain it to anybody else. Jerry and Esther would say to each other constantly, nobody would ever believe that. There's just no way to ever explain it. You had to be there. You had to be there on the setup. That's the fun of the mastermind group. You're in on the setup in the beginning. And so if you're in on the setup on the beginning, as it begins to come round, then you're aware of it. So what you're really talking about, the scientists would have to join together in some mastermind groups. But they would have to start with a premise that scientists aren't willing to start with. They would have to reach for a thought of faith. They would have to focus upon something not yet proven in order to allow it to be proven. And that's what holds science back so far.
Well, isn't that what Einstein did? He came up with the theory of relativity.
Yeah, and how long did they lock him up?
Exactly.
In other words, you find a theory which is inspired, and then you set out to prove the theory to yourself. But what science does, science invites too many of the wrong people to the mastermind. And so all they do is prove what they believed coming in. You see. Really good.
Really good. Thank you. Thank you.